Since early childhood, books were my friends, my lovers and friends, if you will. I mean, I was not not for most of my life what you would call popular, or even having of that many friends. I mean, I had friends when I was younger. The older I got, the less I made friends, I guess. But even then, I was always a pretty lonesome soul. Am a lonesome soul, and so I mean, books, books and loneliness go pretty well, or at least lonesomeness go pretty well. I used to hide my vocabulary. I used to hide the way I spoke. I used to change the way I spoke and talk more like this. You know what I'm saying? Like get into it and make sure that everybody understood where I was from and understood the way that I handle myself. You feel? And make sure no one could question how I operated or how I moved or see any form of weakness in me and shit like that. But truth and fact of the matter is, I ain't never been a hard dude, and that doesn't mean I'm weak, not at all, or unwarrior like. It doesn't mean any of that. Sadly, there is giant amount of belief in the areas where I grew up and everywhere that I've been able to see that reading, intellect, searching for knowledge is a sign of weakness, is a sign that you are trying to hide away as opposed to go further in. Will go further into the root of problems. So also go further out. Seek out the meaning behind things. Actually, the way that a lot of people seem to look at reading is that it means that you are a worm, something squishable, something very afraid of life, real life, and very afraid of being out and about and seeing what can happen without them punk ass pages, to hide behind. When in reality, real life, as many people, sorry for all the quotations, as many people talk about it, being real and what realness is to a lot of people is not even a clever disguise. It's not even halfway seemingly real. It's just very, very fake and obviously fronting. Obviously a front. And so for a long time I fed into that. I fed into the idea that as a young, questionably black male, I wasn't supposed to be reading. I wasn't supposed to be trying to elevate my intellect. And I don't know if that's across the country or if that's Oakland or if that's every hood USA or if that's some hoods USA. I know that I've been places where it seems like even in the hood it's more intellectuals. My brother always trying to tell me that like in New York it's more intellectuals everywhere you go and da 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 da. But I also know it's ignorance everywhere you go. There's definitely a whole lot of ignorance in my hometown. And definitely a giant aversion to reading. An almost kryptonite like aversion to reading. Like this shit is gonna burn me. This shit is gonna fuck up my life if I touch a book. And that's always just been real sad to me. For real. Because you don't have to read. I ain't one of those. I ain't gonna tell you gotta read. I ain't gonna tell you gotta go to school. I ain't gonna tell you gotta go to college. I dropped the fuck out of college. I flunked out of college actually because I wasn't ready to do bullshit. And I didn't read a lot of their books, but I read my own books. People get surprised all the time when I tell them that all my reading is for me. I don't read anything for a class. I don't take classes. I take the class of life, school of life. But I'm constantly reading something. catch my train of thought. Yeah, I mean, just people act like reading is needless, and really, arguably, philosophically, it is, because you can find everything you need right here. The truest book in existence is you, yourself, your own life, your own experiences. Nothing can match that. And ain't no book gonna really teach you the real truest truths of life. But they're good guides. And let me put it like this. Look, you ain't got to read. But if you watch TV, you got to read. You ain't got to read, but if you play video games, you got to read. You ain't got to read, but if you listen to the radio, you got to read. If you don't take in any media of any kind, then you ain't got to read. You know what I'm saying? If you sitting in a cave somewhere meditating under waterfalls and studying the heart and studying the mind and studying life's ups and downs and tricks and studying yourself, your true inner self, the core of you, no, you don't fuck books then. You don't need books. There ain't no book that can fuck with that. But that's not what most people are doing. Most people are constantly taking in and never actively filtering. And reading is the filtering. That is the active choice of what you take in. It'd be like if you was like, fuck decisions of food. Most people wouldn't say that. Most people wouldn't be like, man, fuck deciding what I'm gonna eat. You know what I'm saying? I want what I eat to just be fed to me. I want it to just be pushed down my throat. You feel like, fuck all that like deciding what I want in my belly. You know what I'm saying? I'd rather someone else somewhere just, throw food at me and I swallow it before I even know it's at me. You know what I'm saying? People would be like, you're a fucking idiot if someone said that. But that's the exact same thing that most people do with books. Is we watch all these shows and all this like just shit, all this like vapid, emptiness, fed on the radio, fed in the news, fed on most television shows you watch. Definitely almost all American shows you watch, with the exception of like some public broadcast shit, PBS, and like some various educational shows. But for the most part, TV is the replacement mind. Is like what we do when we don't want to think, what we do when we don't want to feel. When we'd rather something else feel and think for us, we flip on the TV. We turn on the radio. We go on the internet and scroll through nothingness. You know what I mean? Most people do not use the internet. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to make a judgment like that. A lot of people do use the internet for learning. And a lot of people, and a lot of those same people, use the internet for completely mindlessness. Use the internet to be thought for. There's a lot of media like that thinks for you and tells you what to think, and you don't even know you're being told what to think. And you enjoy being told what to think. It's pleasurable being told what to think because it's almost like meditation. It's almost the anti-meditation. In meditation, you sit down and you try to let thought go, and you try to focus on just that inner pure awareness, that inner the watcher, the thing that watches the mind. And that's like the goal of meditation, is to like get back to that base of you, that thing that even if you were in a coma you would be, the soul, the true heart, the true self. But watching TV is not that. Watching TV is opening yourself up to be fed. Kind of like we hear about how chickens are fed in like the McDonald's and KFC factories, and how they're just like force fed and like tubed food down their throat. That's basically what you are. Like, I like that show, Robot Chicken. Even though it's pretty mindless most of the time, just their name is a very, very, very good description of what the act of watching TV is. You are literally becoming a robot chicken. You are just being force-fed really, really, really non-nourishing brain food. And so you shit out non-nourishment. And you are malnourished. If you are not actively choosing what you take into your psyche, what you take into your system, and then reprogram your intellect with, then you are malnourished. But actually, malnourished might not be the best word. You actually might be obese with junk food, obese with unnourishment. You're unnourished, disnourished, if you will. So just to reiterate, you ain't gotta read, but you have to choose what you put into your mind. Plain and simple.